Welcome, everybody. I'm Stuart Cohen. Welcome to another edition of the Power Hour. If you are a regular boot camper, you've been here, you know I always start a little bit early to check out the systems to make sure things are smooth, and I start right on the money, right on time. And I know that so many of you end up coming in a little bit early so that we can chit-chat as we've been doing. So I make sure you can see and hear me okay, and you can even post questions early. For those of you who are new, I am so grateful to welcome you to your very first Power Hour. You see, my boot campers can hear this too. Of course, I offered something special. I mean, the last thing I wanted to do, friends, was to try to sell something to business owners like you who are in the middle of really, really tough financial times. And I'm making that assumption. I'm not looking at anybody in the eye because everyone's got different financial circumstances, but I get it. I understand it, you know. I mean, my speaking business has disintegrated, and I'm hoping it comes back towards the middle end of the year, aside from virtual events. I'm with you. I feel your pain, and nobody owns pain, but we all have different degrees of it, and, you know, we're trying to make the best of times, and that's what this Power Hour is going to be about, especially with the slides I'm going to start off with. If you're new here, I will start off with some slides, some training, and I hope you enjoy it. It's not specifically group focused, and it is, because what I'm going to talk about, you can apply to groups, sales, absolutely. If you're here for the first time, please type in and let me know. It's my first Power Hour, and I would acknowledge that, welcome you here. If at any time you're feeling courageous and you want me to unmute your microphone, we need to do it neutrally. I unmute, you unmute. We can hear your beautiful voice. You can ask your question, make a comment, share a failure, share a success, inspire us, get us talking. Let me know. Be happy to do it. This hour is all about you. I want to thank Karen for sending in a two-parter here, something that she did that I hope will inspire you all from South Lake Travel. I want to thank Houston from Dream Vacations for asking a great question that we're going to tackle about pricing. And his question revolves around, well, Stuart, you say, you know, we don't sell the bare bone package. The bare bone products sell the package. But, you know, what happens if pricing is variable when you go to build in some of the components, right? You know, sometimes the components you build in to create a package have variable pricing based on the number of participants. Well, what if you don't know that going in? It's a great question, and I have some answers. And those of you who've done the groups, if you've been boot campers before, you've done the package, you've dealt with this, I want you to share, because this is about sharing of successes and failures, so we can all learn together. Let me dive back in here. I've already, before I hit record, said hello to so many of you, and I know Summer, you are new in boot camp. Welcome. Natasha's here, newbie from New Jersey. Tell me where in New Jersey, Natasha. Tell me where. I lived in Wayne for a year and Pompton Lakes for 7. Then moved back to Long Island. Sam's in the house, and Sam said she's identified her niche as. That's okay. How do you launch a niche around a niche? Woo! That's a big question too. That's a good one. Ceci's here. I haven't heard a complaint on my mics on the Apple devices. That's good. That's good. You know, I made a statement before that most that built-in mics in laptops or computers aren't good. That was a general statement. I'm sorry if I generalize too much, because it depends on the system you have. There might be a different quality of microphone in a laptop versus a Mac. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is if everyone is saying we can hear you bright and clear and beautiful, that's great. Triniti's in the house. Hello, Stuart. Looks like you've had some fun at the lake this weekend. I did. It really was, we had fun, but it was a lot of work. We're preparing for a giant family reunion July 4th weekend at the lake. Got about 24 people coming, and I'm training for my Ironman 70.3. So I swam and I ran and I did yoga, and it was an exhausting but very fulfilling weekend. Thank you. And cocktails were had by many. Well, my wife and I, we made fresh raspberry martinis. Marina's in the house. Hello, great to be here. Welcome, Marina. Natasha said it's her first power hour. Awesome. Summer, can't wait to soak up all the knowledge. Newbie from Tammy. Hello, Tammy. Welcome. So glad you're here. Jersey City. Awesome. Very, very cool. I hope you're well, man. Jersey got hit real hard. Crystal's here. Hi, Stuart. Decided now is the time to up my group game. I love it. Kay's in the house. You're very clear. Appreciate it. Cool. Hello, Kyle. Kyle's here. We got a great turnout today. And Jeanette's here. Jeanette, you're new. First power hour. Tuning in from the Dominican Republic. Jeanette is here from the DR. I'm so glad you're all here. Welcome, everybody. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start up with the slides as promised. And as we go along, if you have questions or comments, go ahead and type them in. Danny, you had a question that I'm going to come back to. It's a biggie. And let's see here. Who else? I see another question here. Yeah, there's a bunch of questions. So I'm going to make sure I get to everyone's questions. Let me move that to a side here. There's the upcoming dates, June 9th and June 23. I think, friends, that one of those dates, either the 9th or the 23rd or both, I might do a live recording of a new, updated, upgraded, enhanced bootcamp module. See, those of you who just joined bootcamp, and I didn't finish my thought from before, so I'm going to finish it. I made an offer, okay, that said, hey, if you've always wanted a bootcamp, but the $800 is a tough thing just to shell out today, and the $200 a month for 4 months is tough to shell out, then sort of name your terms. $100 gets you in the door, and you tell me when you want to start paying the balance off at $100 a month, starting in August on. So that's why so many of you took advantage of it. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. I want you to have this knowledge, and I wanted to make it as accessible as possible. And just so you know, that sometimes happens with the ADHD brain. I go down one path with a goal and end up someplace else. Please bear with me. All right. By the way, I also, if you have saw my personal posts and the article I wrote in TRO, I write an article for TRO just about every other week called Motivationally Speaking. That's me. I flew a couple of weekends ago and down to Tampa. So it was total 4 flights, because out of Memphis, you can't fly any place nonstop. Well, you can, but not where I need to go. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I'm happy to share my experience. I'm very pleased and happy to say that I took it very seriously, and I finished the flights healthily. Why did I fly? Because I flew to Tampa to train with 2 Ironmen. One of them's my Ironman trainer. One's my Ironman dear friend who has done an Ironman before, who's training for this one too. They're both my trainers, but one is an official, and it was amazing. I swam in the Gulf, and we biked, we ran. It was amazing, and we really, really were diligent about keeping each other safe and well and healthy. So if you have any questions about my flying experience, let me know. Perhaps you might be interested, and or you have a client who's asking you, but make sure you read my article where I did describe it. The good news is there were not many surprises. It's all about, friends, taking the initiative, just like I planned for a 7 or so hour athletic event. It takes enormous commitment planning. So I do it, I finish it healthy. And the same with flying. Now, you don't have to go through the same training and the same prep and the same commitment to fly, but it's serious business. Your health is at risk here. The people who you come into contact with is at risk here. So I took it very seriously, and I'm pleased to say it went smoothly. And would I fly again? Yes. So the key word these days, I'm sure you've been hearing everywhere, friends, is the word pivot. We got to pivot. All businesses need to pivot. You know, isn't it nice that if you're a business like, just popped into my head, you know, we have some local breweries here, as you probably have in your hometown, right? And some of our breweries who do an enormous amount of business from walk-ins, they had been closed. So they converted, and they were making hand sanitizer. That's a pivot. That's a pivot, right? For me in my business, because I'm not traveling on the road speaking on cruise ships and speaking on stages. I had to pivot too. So, and doing the boot camp thing, that was not necessarily, the deal, the offer was not a pivot, but I'm also engaged in launching two big projects that I can't wait to do. Writing one book and launching a new LLC for it, and launching another company that I've been dying to launch for. So that's a pivot. And when you're in the travel business and you don't have another side business or something else to pivot to, what do you do? How are you pivoting? It's tough. It's really tough. So I want to say that maybe the pivot should be focusing on you as a salesperson, the very basics. Instead of thinking, boy, can I make an amazing brownie and sell my brownie recipes? That's a pivot. No, I'm in the business of travel. I don't want to sell brownies. So here's the deal. You friends, let me remind you that even in the best of times, you see that room I circled there? I just picked that at random. But you and I don't know how many other travel professionals and .coms can sell that as for a vacation. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, I don't know, 60,000, whether it's online direct or whether it's with a .com. So it's the same room, it's the same accommodations at this particular all-inclusive resort. So when we talk pivot, maybe we should reframe pivot into trying to find out what else new you can do, but what else you can do to pivot so you become better at the game. Now, I hate to make this sales 101, friends, but sometimes we need to get back to basics, and sometimes we forget to do certain things. And I went back into my archives because I did a survey years ago, many years ago, what made some vacation salespeople like you, leisure salespeople, super successful and others not so successful. And when I did that, I was on the supplier side. So I got to witness and experience thousands of travel professionals that were part of the 80%, and just a smaller handful that were part of the 20, because that's what the Pareto principle is. Do you know what that is? Pareto principle is also known as the law of the vital few, but also the 80-20 rule. So if you didn't know Pareto, if you didn't know law of the vital few, you probably knew 80-20. That's nothing new, because this 80-20 rule doesn't just apply to travel sales. It applies to everything. It's a fascinating principle that 80% of the results, 80% of the effects, 80% of the success, if you will, and sometimes it's not success, it's just 80% of the production, of the productivity, of the end run, the final result, comes from 20% of the producers, 20% of the input, 20% of the people. Does that make sense? And if you transition to travel from another business, I'm sure you've heard this before. If you've read marketing books, you've heard this before. This is nothing new. So I was intrigued then, and still am today, why 20% of the travel professionals produce 80% of the revenue. And when I was on the supplier side, I could tell you unequivocally, because I could see the numbers. It's not a guess. So years ago, I set out and I asked not only the DSMs, they were DSMs back then, and the BDMs, and the super successful vacation salespeople and their managers, what are the habits, characteristics, routines, practices of super successful vacation salespeople? Now, what I'm gonna present this to you, I'm gonna do it in 15 minutes or less. This is actually a 1 hour, can be a keynote, but more of a workshop that I would get paid a lot of money to deliver, and of course it would be a lot fuller, a lot richer if we had the full hour. But I want to remind you of these key things, and we're going to work backwards to give you the top 5. And I wonder, just take a second now, if you will, everybody, Natasha, Jeanette, Marcy, everyone who's new in boot camp, and Ramona and Hans and Sam, and everyone's not new at boot camp. Sorry, I don't have everybody's name listed here. We've got a full house today. But you've already seen number 5, but just write down what you have to think the other 4 are. Go ahead, do it now. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. I just want to see if you get this right. Now, if you've seen me do this on stage, let's see if you remember. Recollection. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So here are the 5 key habits, and this is truth, friends. They ask for the business. I know some of you are like that, yeah, I do, but sometimes it's uncomfortable. You don't want to be a pushy salesperson, this kind of stuff. I'm here to reframe that and let you know that as a consumer, I need you to ask. I need you to tell me when it's okay, when there's no more decisions to be made, when the time is right. And if you don't tell me, now's the time. We've eliminated all obstacles. It delivers everything you want it to deliver. If you don't remind me to get off my butt, to get off the fence and make the decision, then I may never do it. It's like back in the day, for those of you who have some grays like me, and I don't mind sharing my age, back in the day, there were multiple travel agencies in towns everywhere. And you'd walk in and there was the great wall of brochures. Does anybody remember that? And half of them were curling over, and people would walk in and say, and they would take brochures and walk out, and people behind the desk would say, can I help you? No, just looking. Gone. Right? So, or then you now that's at the early stage. But my point is, let's say you've spent a lot of time with these clients, you presented everything, and you know it's perfect for them. And then you say, hey, take the time you need, call me when you're ready. That's the same thing as go ahead, take it and make the decision on your own time. You need to give them a sense of urgency. And the main reason why people don't ask for the business in general is because they fear the no. So how do you not fear the no? Well, you need to be confident, friends. It's a matter of confidence. It's anticipating that they will say yes versus having the fear they will say no. Now, when you tell me, I'm going to play your customer here for a second. When you ask me, or let's say when you tell me instead of ask, it's time. Let's wrap this up. Let's focus on packing your bags. When you tell me it's time, then I need to hear you being certain and confident versus, what do you think? Is this right? Now, that's okay during the qualifying stages, right, friends? When you're qualifying. Hey, how does this sound? How does this sound? What if we did this? Is this something you might like? So you do want to swim with the dolphins, right? Okay. But when it's time, and you got to do it ask for the business at the right time, because if you ask for it too early, you're definitely going to get the no. And if you don't ask for the business with confidence, then you're going to get the no. And if you don't ask for the business at all, it's unlikely you're going to get the business. So that's the number 5 key habit. They are comfortable and confident asking for the business at the right time. Number 4, did you have this down? They have superior knowledge. Superior knowledge. Obviously, with the internet, everyone have access to information. It's harder for you to know more than them, but you need to. You know this. I've said this a million times before. You always need to know more, because if you don't, you become obsolete. Obsolete. Meaning, hey, what do I need you for? This information is right here. And let me tell you something. So here's a pivot opportunity if we had to use this word. And Karen, Sam, good for you for finding you said niches. So hopefully, even though it's niches, it's still narrow. What a great time for you to eliminate selling and promoting and marketing and being the expert on stuff you don't really love, and putting all your focus and attention on the brands, on the people, on the products, on the geography, on the demographics, whatever it is, of the business and the people and the products you want to sell more of, because then you can have superior knowledge. So instead of my local, very good friend, Don Hudson, who's a very, very successful National Speakers Association Hall of Fame speaker. He's been on the Group Sales Success Summit. He's really inspiring and amazing. I'm getting tongue-tied here. If he was watching this, he'd blush. In any case, he said to me, he said, Stuart, it's better to be a mile deep and an inch wide, right? Versus a mile wide and an inch deep. You've heard this before. So what a great time that to eliminate having to learn so much about so many different things and focusing on what you really, really love. Now's the time. Perfect time, and you will have superior knowledge. And remember, if you've heard me say this before too, that instead of telling people, hey, don't go on the internet, it's going to confuse you, which it will, because once you say that to them, they're going to go immediately to the internet because they think you're hiding something and they want to be sure. I suggest you just say, hey, if you've got the time, do all the shopping and searching and researching on the internet. Just make me one promise. Sure, what's that? And the promise is when you find something that looks too good to be true, or looks terrific, or looks weird or odd, or if you see different pricing, let me know, because I'll be your truth detector, because it's what I do for a living. I'll let you know if it's real or not. I'll let you know if it's made up, if it's exaggerated or not. A lot of times online, you'll find things exaggerated, not entirely true. And sometimes you don't see the small print. That's what I'm here for. So encourage it. That's okay. And maybe they'll say, hey, this gal's really confident. I don't need to research and check it out. Number 3, they're expert listeners. Expert listeners. Yeah, I understand these 5 key habits could be applied to any sales job, selling anything. Expert listeners. I want you to know, I can dive into this. We're not going to dive deep into it because you understand this. It's one thing that you hear what they're saying. It's another that you listen. It's another that you confirm that you're listening when you mirror, when you repeat back. Sometimes people need to hear what they've just said because they'll say, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Oh, that's what you said, but it's not what I meant. Friends, I believe the number one reason why people don't end up buying from you when you ask for the business is because you missed something. You weren't listening. You either gave me something that I didn't ask for, or you didn't give me something that I did. So listening is so pivotal to being a super successful leisure salesperson. It really takes a lot of work. You need to pivot away from the computer screen, close the notebook that you stare at your face, or something else that's distracting, and give that person all in. Now, here's what I do. Here's what I do when I'm having a conversation with somebody and they're doing a lot of important talking. Like this week, I'm hoping to have a conversation with an organization in travel about possibly me either doing a keynote or a workshop for a conference that's going to be virtual. Fingers crossed for me, please. I can't tell you who till I get hired, because I will. That call is going to be this week. And I'm going to close my eyes, have my notebook ready so I can take notes, and be all in listening. And what I do to stay in the game so they know I'm listening, if we're not in person, right, is I give a lot of, yep, yes, right. I give these little acknowledgments. I don't interrupt. You don't want to interrupt. Let them talk. Let them tell their story, friends. Ask those high mileage questions. You've heard that before. Okay, but it's so critical and pivotal when you listen well. Number 2, they have an amazing attitude. Yeah, we can call this passion. We can call this zeal, which is my favorite word. And nobody likes to buy something from somebody who's just blah, somebody who's unremarkable, somebody who doesn't seem to be as excited as they are about going someplace. So here's a great way to know if you're selling the right stuff or not in terms of a niche. When you're planning out a group or an individual trip and you're not terribly excited, you're delivering the information Yeah, you'll do this, yeah, this, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you're not as enthusiastic to talk about it. Well, maybe you should be in that game. If you don't believe in, fully endorse that product, that experience, then I'm going to feel it. I will feel if you're really in it and believe it or not. I want to go to somebody who's equally as excited as I am about going to this destination, going on this ship. Okay, I need that. I just bought a brand new bicycle, brand new bike, road bike, fancy schmancy road bike for my upcoming athletic event in October, the Ironman 70.3. And I bought it from a local bike guy here because I wanted to keep my business local. And you know what? When I met the guy and the team there, it's it, man. They live bikes. This is their life. And I felt great. They want to feel great purchasing through you because you're equally committed as excited and you've got the great attitude. Okay. There's a great quote from Dr. Tony Alessandra, and I wrote it down here so I wouldn't forget. Quote, "It is impossible to become a top seller in your field without a contagious sense of enthusiasm." You probably heard that before. I want to read it again. It's impossible to become a top seller in your field, right, to be part of that 20%, without a contagious sense of enthusiasm. Check yourself, friends. I know you're not doing a lot of it now, but now's the time to prepare. Now's the time to prepare. And number one, they follow up. They follow up. Did you guess the follow-up? Did you guess it is number one? There's great quotes around that. You know, follow up or fall on your face. Most businesses in general lose customers by ignoring them to death. Those are not my quotes. I forgot. I don't remember offhand to say it, but you follow up. And, you know, and I do multi-hour training sessions on follow up because it's part of loyalty too. That's how you get loyalty when you follow up. Not just you follow up before the sale, but you follow up before, you follow up during, you follow up after, and long after. Follow up never ends. And if you want loyalty from your customers, you need to give it first. Loyalty, great service. So that follow-up thing. And the problem, friends, is, and you probably know this now, put your consumer cap on. Let's say you go to make a sizable purchase from somebody, an organization or a person, and you were hoping that they cared as much after than before. Were they just in it to get your cash, to get the money and move on? Or did they really care? Well, friends, do you really care? If you really, really care about your client, about their satisfaction, or if you were really vested in their experience, then you're going to reach out to them after. And why do most people in general not do the follow-up? Fear that, what if something is wrong? What if they didn't like it? What if there was an issue? I don't want to deal with it. And man, I used to hear this all the time, would drive me bananas. If something went wrong, I know I'd hear from them by now. So I guess it went well. And that's not you watching me right now, because you wouldn't be here in boot camp taking this stuff seriously if that was your attitude. So friends, instead of being fearful, be fearless. Call when they come back and write them. Make sure there's a postcard, a welcome back card, something in their mailbox when they come back. Go all out on the welcome. Are you doing this? Tell me. I'll read your story or turn your mic on so we can hear about what you're doing for follow-up. And we can do a whole, like I said, a whole session just on follow-up. This is one of my favorite topics to follow up because it's number one. Follow-up. Right? Follow up. And the one of the books I'm going to be writing, not this summer, but I do a lot of keynotes and workshops on this, is the concept: don't close the sale. Don't close the sale. Open the sale. Keep it open forever. And one final note too, you may have heard me say this, is that once they come back from that trip, friends, Once they come back from they're coming back as an unclient. As an unclient. They're no longer a client. Why? If they've got nothing new on the books, if you're not working on a new trip for them, then they're an unclient. Basically, as soon as you had paid them the money and they went off on the trip, you're fired, right? I know my boot campers have heard me say this before, but I get fired after I do my speech and they hand me my check. I'm fired. I'm done until I'm rehired. So to be hired, fired, and rehired is the way to go. But you've got to earn that. You can't just assume to come back. That's follow-up. That's follow-up to get rehired, to turn an unclient back into a prospect, back into a client. It's a cycle. That's got to keep going. I do hope that this has moved you a little bit. And, you know, whenever I deliver information, I know so many of you are at different levels in your business. And I make a 3-tiered promise every time. Number one, I hope that I have given you information that validates stuff you're already doing. Number two, I hope I've given you information and reminded you stuff maybe you forgot to do. And so maybe you'll start making those calls, sending those postcards and say, oh man, yeah, I never did talk to such and such after they got back from the trip in January. Get on the horn, friends, before somebody else does. As Mike Marshev says, your client is my prospect. Okay, and the third thing I always promise to do with you is to give you new ideas maybe you had not thought of. Validate what you're doing, remind you what you forgot, give you all new ideas. So I hope that those slides were enjoyable to you. And now I'm going to shut off the screen and come back to you here and move the questions back here so I can see what's going on here. Let's see if we had any comments. Jeanette Linda is back. Linda said, loved your post about flying to Florida. Thank you very much. Karen said, handwritten notes. I have beautiful note cards. There you go. And for me, friends, hold on. So that, you know, when you get that thought of writing to somebody and you're like, oh man, I wish I had the card. I went and I bought blank stationery. Okay, it's already pre-folded. You've probably seen this. And I do run them through my printer. I have a laser printer. And it says here, if you can think big, I'll help you do big. It's already got my URL on my phone number. And I handwrite it. So it's easy. I handwrite the return address too. They're already done. It's easy, right? Thank you, Karen, for that. Let's see here. Hold on. Karen, all good reminders. Good deal. Danny said, great slides. You're very welcome, Daniel. Ceci said, wow, yes, I needed to remember that your client is my prospect. Bam. Bam. That's a good one, right? Danny, I always welcome home customers, whether it's their first trip or the 10th trip with me. Absolutely, because the experience is different. We should never take for granted those clients that we've had for years and years and years. In fact, they become more valuable. Linda says, I always send a handwritten thank you note. I send a gift certificates with my yearly calendars. There you go. Awesome. Okay. Now, I don't see any other new comments here. So go ahead and start typing in stuff, especially our newbies, Marina, Natasha, Summer, Tammy, Jeanette. And if I missed you, I am sorry. But if you've just joined us and if you're new here, let me know. This is your Marcy. That's your first time here. And I want to go to, Danny, I'm going to come to your question in just a second, but I want to get to Houston's question. Houston is a Dream Vacations franchise owner. Houston, are you in the house? Are you on? Hey, Kinchia, you're here, first time here. Kinchia, did I pronounce your name right? If it's your first time here, you'll probably hear me say this often. Did I pronounce your name right? Kinchia, let me know if I have. She said, yes, thanks. Awesome. Welcome. It's awesome to have you here. Okay. And again, if you have other questions or issues, want to turn your mic on, you let me know. I finished right on the money, about a half hour. So Houston asked this question. Great question. Listen up. I know you speak about the importance of putting together a stellar package, not just the bare minimum. Absolutely. My question is, What if you don't know what the final pricing will be due to the unknown final guest count? A lot of short excursions or special event pricing fluctuates depending on the amount of people in the group. When you finally release the price of your package after the promotion, very good, Houston. Remember, you don't release the pricing until it's part the appropriate time in the group launch sequence. Remember, friends, once you put that pricing out there, which is going to be higher than everything else they see online. Why? Because you've created a more inclusive package than you've got to wait to put the price so you have time to tell them what's going to be in the price that you're about to reveal. Because if you give them what they want, here's the price, they're not going to stick around and hear the rest, but you know that. So when you finally release the price of your package after promotion, it may change depending on the amount of people who actually sign up. How do you deal with this? That's a great question. So I'm going to ask any of you, I'm going to answer it. Have you dealt with this? Have you done it? So this is my advice, okay? If you've done your homework, and we're assuming now that you've done the group viability test and you believe it's a great opportunity, it's a great option. You're all in. Check marks, all 10 points. You've got a great group leader. The affinity is very strong. So we're making the assumption that all systems are go. It's a great opportunity affinity group, which means that the magnet is strong. Okay, but maybe it's never been done before. So you have no idea how many people are going to go. And remember, don't get jaded by the amount of people jumping up and down saying, oh, we're going to go, because that may not happen. It might. And don't be jaded when the group leader or the organization, whoever's in charge, and jumps up to, oh yeah, they're all going to go, because it may not be true. You don't know. That's why you do the group launch sequence, to walk them to the information presentation series. So I would like to suggest this to you. I say you go in. You definitely need to use your Excel spreadsheet. That's of critical importance. And you need to plug in the variables so that you see where those price breaks are, right? You have to know where the price breaks are with everything based on the person count. What I would do is, bottom line is, go out with the higher price point. Say, friends, this is our first time traveling together as a group. We're very excited. And the price I'm about to reveal to you is a more inclusive price because, as you've just seen in our presentation series, it already includes this, 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 and this. I want to save you stress and risk. I want to add value and convenience by already including in all the things that I know you're going to love, that I know you want, so you don't have to worry about missing out or paying too much when you get there. It's all built in. And here's the deal. The price point I'm going to show you is if we have a minimum of 20 people going on this group. Now, we all believe it's going to be upwards of 40 or 50 or 60. That's what we're anticipating. But just to let you know that for as little as 20 people going, I'm making up these numbers, Houston, this is the price, and includes this. Now, here's the bonus. If we get 30, if we hit 30 people, and Houston and everybody, here's the point where you need to make the determination. Do you want to decrease the pricing? Do you want to say it will be, I'm making this up now, 1,800 versus 2,000, or do you want to give a value add as a bonus? Number one, you're telling people right off the bat that you've created a package, because creating a package gives you the ability to negotiate harder on their behalf to get group pricing. That's why they're going on a group. Also, is to get the best value, not prices, the best value possible. So if we reach 30 people, we're going to give you, it could be an onboard credit or something a little special versus price, because here's the thing. You want to anticipate people possibly being disappointed that, oh man, you know what? Let's not be the first to buy it at $2,000. Let's wait to see if 30 people buy it, and then we'll buy it at 1,800, right? Got to be very careful of that. So my suggestion is not to do a price discount. I don't discount boot camp. You shouldn't discount anything. That word should never come out of your mouth. But give some kind of little bonus and say it's $2,000, and when we reach 30 people, we're going to give you a little this, a little something, okay? And you need to determine what that is by the differentiation. So let's say the excursion is regularly $100 a person, but if you reach 30 people, then they sell it to you for 80. And I'm talking net prices here, friends. You always want to net it down. Don't let commissions screw you up and mess things up, right? So that's an additional $20, an additional $20 in profit. So what can you give back that has a higher perceived value than 20? You know, giving somebody back $20 a discount, that's not big enough, right? But telling people that you're going to give them something that has a higher perceived value of 20, but really only costs you that 20 or less, then you win. All right. The other part of this is why do you need to? Why do you need to? If you believe, Houston, and everybody, this is very important, friends, that the $2,000 price point is outstanding on its own, and you do reach 30 people, or you reach 40 people, and instead of it costing you $100 for that excursion, it costs you 80, but no, wait, now you've reached 40 people, now it costs you 70. What's wrong with making an additional margin? There's nothing wrong with that. So that's a total reframe to you all. Don't feel guilty about negotiating hard on their behalf, and the more you sell, the more you earn, which is a compliment to your efforts. Understand that? Now, let me come back to one other really important point, which is what if you fall below the 20? I'm just using that as an example now. So if it's that critical a situation where the price point, if you feel, hey, we may go below 20, you know, and when I use the word 20, remember, I don't classify a large group as more successful than a small group. So it could be, the number could be 10, and you could be more successful selling a group of 10 than a 40. So it's not about the size of the group, it's about the quality, and it's about the margin per person and your return on your investment, your ROI. But you may need to protect yourself and say, listen, and some of you have had this situation where this trip goes with a minimum of 20. This trip goes minimum of 20. And I think that will inspire people to get on board, to get in. But then you also may have to say that, listen, if we end up not having 20, you get your money back. Don't worry about it. But we think it's going to go great. You always have to protect yourself. CYA. Protect yourself of the just in case. You never want to put a price point out there that you're going to regret saying, oh man, I built in those extra discounts. I gave it all back. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm making less money. No, friends, I don't want you earning less money per transaction. You need to protect yourself. And if you're not comfortable using Excel to look at the variables, get your accountant, get somebody who is to do that. So what I want to know is, did that answer your question? I'm going to look at the Q&A now. Then I have something from Karen I want to read here, and I want to take your questions. And Danny, I know you had a question too. Let's see here. Houston's in the house. All right, Houston, tell me if that helped you, and tell me what you thought. Sam said, as far as pricing, when I do release pricing, I always release the price for the minimum number of participants. There you go. And Sam's been in the game a couple of years. So she releases the price for the minimum number of participants. And friends, it's up to you ultimately. If you want to give a bonus, I don't suggest you give a discount or savings, give it back in a different way. If you want to use that as a carrot, if you think it's that big of a carrot, you could always do a surprise too. You don't have to say you're doing a cocktail party, but you know, only you know, that if you hit 40, you've got enough money to do a big surprise. People love surprises. Nancy said, hey Nancy, Go for the price at the minimum number of people that sign up. Then if more people sign up, you earn more. There you go. There's Nancy validating that concept. Linda, first time. Linda M, because we've got a bunch of Lindas too. Nancy D. First time, I have a specific niche. First time here, Linda's here. I have a specific niche, medieval vacations, historic FITs in Europe. Wow. Traveling to Europe is not going to be as attractive for a while. Was considering the pivot to an area in the US. What do you think? Should I start the group process for Europe anyway? So, in terms of a pivot, starting US, if you can still stay true to your niche, Linda, because I want you to have the same prospect base, the same group of shoppers. I want you to have the same group of clients. So if you do a US based trip and it has nothing to do with historic FITs, historic or medieval vacations, then maybe don't do it, because then you're gonna have two different lists and you're gonna sort of, your marketing is gonna be fuzzy. Well, who are you? What do you do? Do you sell, long weekends at Yellowstone, or do we go to Europe with you, right? So see if you can plan something domestically that still would have interest to that base. That's a fascinating concept, and it might be lower cost, so you may fill up your funnel. You may get more people interested. They may not all have the amount of cash or time to go to a big Europe trip, but you'll have a bigger funnel, because maybe in 5 years from now, they'll do one of those big FIT trips or group trips to Europe with you. And the other part is, should you start the group process for Europe anyway? And it's an impossible answer for me to give you, because nobody knows tomorrow, 6 months, a year. What I can tell you is I feel very certain, very confident that there will be a normal, and we will look back on these times and say, wow, do you remember when? I do believe, just as we have very, very, very smart people and scientists and researchers working on this, that things will go back to normal. We'll cruise, we'll travel, we'll fly, we'll hang out, we'll hug people, it will. And I don't think there's anything wrong with starting to plan something for Europe now. Now, taking a deposit, starting a group launch sequence, I'm not so sure. You really have to be very cognizant of the general mood right now, because another thing to consider, Linda, and everybody, is that you've got a lot of people who've been furloughed, a lot of people who are not back at work, a lot of people who were laid off looking for jobs. So we have to be really cognizant of that. So tread lightly, go easy, give information, talk about what you hope to be planning. Do non-committal stuff, Linda. Get people talking, show off your expertise, showcase the trips you've done in the past or the trips you can't wait to do. You may have missed, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. If you haven't watched the Power Hour 2 weeks ago, I talked about you be the group leader. So Linda, if you're the group leader, it sounds like you are, there's nothing wrong with talking about your vision, your passion, your dreams of where you want to go, and build up that list so you go from 100 followers to 200 to 1,000 to 5,000, so that when the time is right to construct your group trip, you've already got a full funnel of people who love what you love. That's what I think you should be working on now. And you'll know when the time is right, especially as the more you communicate with your people, you'll know if they're ready. Well, we can't wait. When, how much, or can't making commitments yet. So when you do these information presentations, when you showcase your knowledge, when you do videos, when you do a Zoom meeting, whatever it is you're doing, when you write, okay, be non-committal, because you don't want somebody saying to you, oh, I don't want to come to that because I don't want, this, it sounds like it's an opportunity meeting, and money's tight right now, and I'm not even going to come. No, it's okay. I'm not asking you for money. Leave your wallet at home. We're just going to talk about this stuff. So Linda, I hope that helps. Carol said, I'm very conservative in adding in the component adding in the components that are variable, assuming 20 rather than 40 people, and just putting that out as the price. If we get the higher number of folks, then I had some extra value. Then I add some extra value, but I don't tell them up front. I surprise them on the trip. So I get it. So you don't even add in those components. So here's what I would say to that, Carol, and you're probably keenly aware of this. If it's a component that they asked for, that you know they need, they've agreed to, they want, you've sold them, let's say, on that cooking tour. When they get to Jamaica, they're going to go to a chef's house. I'm just making this up, okay? And they want to do it. You have to include it. It can't be a variable. However, the price varies based on the number of people participating. So I think there has to be a fine line with what you do need to build in, and protect yourself by including the higher price point. And then if you've got stuff in your back pocket that you know they would love as a surprise, I love it. I think surprises are fabulous. Thank you, Carol, for sharing. Karen said, yes, I know what my minimum number of people is, example, 15. I then base my pricing on costing for 10 from the tour operator, restaurant, etc. So you will not lose money ever. On my spreadsheet, this is Karen talking, Karen D, I cost out for 15, 20, 30, etc. You can see the profit then you make as a group, as the group grows. Love to offer value add as the group grows. Yep, and I just want to read this to everybody. I'm coming back to what you're typing in here, everybody. Karen D said, and I listen, now I don't know if you had all seen my Travel Institute session that I did. It's great. It's there for a limited time because it's really not supposed to be public. Because right, it was free when I delivered it, but Travel Institute now, if you want to watch the replay, if you're not a member, if you're not taking an accredited course, if you're not a member, there's a fee for it. So I have it for you for a limited time. If you want the link, let me know. It says here, on your Travel Institute session, you mentioned we're all trying hard to find group leaders and suggested we look closer to home. So again, for you newbies here, welcome. I can't even tell you how happy I am. Virtual hugs that you're here. Seriously. Make sure you watch the Power I did 2 weeks ago. You'll find it on Facebook. I always put the link in our Facebook group. Make sure you're in the Facebook group, or it's on my YouTube channel so you can watch it at any time. I said, look closer to home. All the groups you'll ever need are in your own backyard. Too many times we're looking way out there. And she said, I took your advice, sort of. There's an upscale food store here in town that has a great cooking school. Karen was in there shopping. Remember, I told you a great way to get in the door, to get a lead, to get an opportunity is if you're a customer. Karen's a customer. And right there, who'd she see but the director of the cooking school? She was out and about. And her cooking school had been shut down. She said, we chatted about my upcoming culinary tours that have now been postponed. So you created a little relationship there. She runs a culinary school that's been shut down. You run culinary tours that's been shut down. There's a bond, and you're a customer, right? On the way home, I decided to take your advice and reach out about doing a culinary trip in the future. And she loved the idea. Remember, it can't be about you, everybody. And you, Karen, has to be about her, about the director. What are the problems? Why would she do this? She needs to understand why she should do it, needs to do it, wants to do it, desires to do it, versus why you want to do it. You want to do it to get business and to make money, of course, to show people a good time. But make sure you're solving her problem. And if she wants to make money, if she wants to get exposure, if she wants to be a big influencer, if she wants to do something fun like that, personally, then that's her problem that you're solving. More. I've been working on my email list this past weekend. I'm going to send a hello video, yay, to all of my, as part of the first email. So you can say a little video hello, and I love that. I love it. The second email is going to ask this question. Now listen, this is something I encourage you to ask everybody you talk to and meet every day. What celebrations are you planning for next year? Now those are Karen's words. I suggest what celebrations are on your horizon. You got any big celebrations coming up? Use whatever words are comfortable for you. Now, Karen, you also say, you put here, when you're ready, I'm here to help you plan an extraordinary event. Now, you know how much I love you. I respect you. And I'm going to tell you, as your coach, you've given me permission to speak freely. You don't need the second line. You don't need the second line, because then you're going to scare people off. When you're ready, I'm here to help you plan, because then they're like, yeah, okay. Because what, now you're asking them to make a commitment to buy through you. All you want to do is start a conversation. What celebrations are you planning for next year? That's it. Can you do that with everybody and anybody you talk to every day? I want to go back to Danny's question that came up way earlier. Let's see, where are you, Danny? Hang in there, everybody. We've got 5.5 minutes. I promise I will end on the money. I want to make sure I get to everything. So where is it? Well, I know that Danny asked this question. What's my take on selling groups right now in this environment? That was general question. Is that is it appropriate? Look, at the end of the day, I don't think you should be hard selling, of course. But now's your opportunity. And if you've read all of my articles that I wrote about this in TRO, Motivationally Speaking, I talked about it being a leadership moment. Now's the time to showcase your knowledge, your expertise, and being the leader in your niche, in your industry. And, I'm doing a ton of free stuff and outreach campaigns. I did that for the Travel Institute because who can I help? Who needs to hear my message? And if you've got the cash to come in on that boot camp special offer, great. If not, I still love you, and the time is right, and it's right for you, come on in. So I think, Danny, that now's the time you should be reevaluating your business. And of course, some of you are taking certifications and getting the stuff done that you would wish to do, and you're getting it done now. But it's time to, okay, I've done all the educating I can get. Now I need to reach out to the people. I need to become an influencer. I need to become respected and known for what I know, and share this information to make sure everybody on my list stays on my list, knows me, loves me, doesn't go book with somebody else. Remember what we said earlier, your clients are my prospects. Thank you, Mike. And I believe absolutely that group travel, I think, is going to be bigger than ever. We've been through so much pain of not, I want to go see my grandkid, and I haven't. In Boston, my granddaughter, I'm waiting. To that end, we're planning a family reunion July 4th. Too soon? I don't know. What I can tell you is we're going to be diligent. We're going to be safe, and nobody's coming here if they have any symptoms or if they haven't been practicing, safe, just living safely. I mean, just basic stuff. And we're gonna have it, and everyone is more excited than ever before to be together. That's the key word: togetherness. Groups, are about being together. And while I don't know if Q3 or Q4 is too soon to do a get on an airplane, go on a cruise if they're cruising, get on an airplane, go to a resort, a group. I don't know, friends. I don't know when the time is right. You have to gauge the people, your group, but the conversations need to be active because they're saying the same things, Danny. Your clients and unclients and your shoppers and your prospects are saying, I don't know, when should we do this? You should be there, not making up their mind, but giving them qualified information. Why? Because you have superior knowledge. You know better than anybody else. You can at least state the facts. You can say that, well, right now, these cruise lines are ready to start today. These hotels will be opening here. That's the best you can do, and build your list so that when you pull the trigger, when you're ready to do a group lunch secrets, when you start to do a whisper campaign, say, oh, we're planning this for 2020, Linda, like you. Remember, it's a whisper campaign. Save the date. Who knows? June 2021. Save the date. What's going on? Oh, it's really big. Stay tuned. Shh, keep it a secret. I think that's okay to do. I really do. And if we're not ready yet, it won't be ready yet. But at least you're putting information out there. You're getting people engaged. You're keeping them engaged. I think we should be in the business of engagement right now. How's that for bubbling up, boiling it up? We should be in the process of engagement. Sam, I know you wanted to share your niche or niches. I didn't get to you today, and I apologize. So we have 30 seconds left. I just want to know from our newbies, not dismissed yet, 30 seconds, less than that. Newbies, did it work for you? Was it good? Summer's got to head out to a Virtuoso webinar. Summer, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And we'll see her on our mastermind trip too. Danny said, perfect, thank you. You're very welcome. Lindy said, yes, good. I'm glad. Tammy, very informative. Good deal. And remember, the more you bring to me, the more I know what you want to hear from me and focus on. Great webinar from Jeanette. Kinchia said, learned a lot. Great. Jenny's in the house. Jenny's great to see your name here. Thanks, everybody. All right, we are at time. I'm gonna leave you with, you know, this is what my grandma Eva used to always say all the time before she would say goodbye. She would always say, just be well, darling. Just be well.